Hello. This series is from Glenbeck's new video, Socialism, A Warning from the Dead. It's from my experience of a communist socialist mobile gulag. Also, it's kind of a mixture of the two. You'll have his videos in there. Then you have some of my commentary, and trying to people understand what I went through and what the new experiences may be if someone else ends up going through the same thing later on. There also might be some repetition in these videos in the series. I don't know how many videos will be in the series, but if there is repetition, I'm sorry. This is a stream of consciousness. It's just how I feel when I watch these particular parts of the video and how it made me feel. And thank you for clicking on this video.
To quote the document again, it awakens the forces of the people. It breaks through the onerous circle of intimidation and spiritual terror of the old institutions like the church. So that brings me to the actual plan. How did they do this Czechoslovakian revolution and flip this country in 3 years? Well, culture was number one. It was their biggest threat and their first target of attack. Step one in the overall plan. The idea of attacking culture as the opening salvo was actually ripped from another communist named Antonio Gramsci. He stated that capitalist countries were much too rooted in the culture of capitalism to initiate a workers' revolution on their own. For a government to flip, you had to first attack the culture at the core. Think of this. They listed several key areas, and they were these: churches, unions, mass media, universities, corporations, and foundations.
Of the many steps, attack on culture was first. I saw only a personal slice for this of the attack I went through. There are many instances of cultural attack, but one that sticks out is when I was being psychologically attacked, and I was having chest pains. And I was saying, I forgive you in the name of Jesus Christ. They mocked me in the name of Jesus Christ. They laughed at the mention of his name. Later on, when I saw Christians, at least they called themselves that, and I told them what happened, they mocked me also. When I finally went to churches with what happened to me, none of them feared the mobile gulag that's now looming so large and in front of our eyes and starting to. About the unions being involved in these attacks. The attack against me was started with a union workplace. I was attacked within 50 miles of the city of Chicago. In Chicago is where Glenbeck located a group of communists who were help paying and help pushing the agenda of the illegals across our border. So you have to understand, they had all this probably in plan when they started to attack me. They're just trying to find a time and a way to do it. So my attack is a test for future situations. So it looks like they're about 15, 20 years behind where they really are. So if my attack says anything, it took 6 months to break me. 3 to 6 months, I'd say. But that was a personal, so I don't know how long it will take to break people who are more ingrained in society, but it can happen very quickly. And it's very scary coming from seeing this from a mobile gulag point of view, and trying to warn people about it for years. They had a multiple step plan. Step 1, culture. Step 2, direct democracy. Intuitively create a reactionary mob. It creates more soldiers for the mobile gulag if and when it's needed. Step 3 is gun control. These 3 steps aren't what I'm going to really get into. I already got into step 1, sort of, and talked about the unions being involved. And I think the groups thing is very important. The cultural thing is key. I think the authority, and I think who's considered an authority, I think is very important. I think we need to get conservatives to become authorities.
Step 4 was popularize revolutionary demands. They were really, really good at this. They created this plan called the Program of Building, which was framed as progress, It included the redistribution of wealth, land, and nationalization. Socialist politicians in the government would send their plans directly to the foot soldiers on the ground, and they would shame any capitalist, any politician, any civilian that would vote against it, and they would say they're voting against the will of the people. They would out them in the media. They would shame them. They would destroy them. They claimed that they had been bought by wealthy businessmen or farmers. Turning over control to the government was progress, and private ownership was deemed against the people's will. Now, one example of how they effectively manipulated the masses was by proposing the millionaire's levy, better known as a millionaire wealth tax. It didn't have anything at all to do with giving the money to the poor. It was all about manipulation and isolating capitalists. If anyone opposed it, they were instantly branded as being anti-people or anti-poor or oppressors. The document marveled at the success of how effective this manipulation really was. Let me quote, "How important for the isolation of the bourgeois leadership of the other parties of the National Front was the proposal of the millionaire's levy alone, tabled in the government by the communists in 1947, at first rejected by its majority." It was all just a con. It was a manipulative isolation tactic.
Popularize revolutionary demands. Shame and destroy them. They make you think you should be silent. It is all about isolation. There are so many cons. What cannot work in the macro, they will try in the micro. Especially if there's only a few holdouts holding back the floods. Those targets will be set upon with all speed with fake friends and lovers, and with the other mobile gulag attack techniques. I believe the book Glenn is reading from has been folded into the knowledge of brainwashing techniques that's been used around the same time, and this what the mobile gulag is best suited for. In the mobile gulag, they popularize a reason and purpose for attacking the target. They popularize the techniques and make the target deserving no matter what they do. Because this is personal, the demands are a way of making you bend to them and their will and submit yourself to them. In the macro, it's because of revolutionary demands. In the micro, it will also be because of revolutionary demands, but the individuals who are being attacked in the micro will be standing in the way of those demands either being completed or them staying and being used or being followed, let's say. But they can also use other actions or techniques that Glenn is saying. And the only actions might not be the actions that I'm saying also, because they're so diverse and they change the attack for that person. So they'll actually study you and change the attack to you. So some of the attacks will change and develop as their weaknesses are shown. Those weaknesses will be attacked, and those weaknesses will eventually be exploited. But the number one desire is isolation. And Glenn is right in that situation. They want to isolate you first. They want to break your ability to believe and to feel you're completely alone. This is what the mobile gulag and gang stalking does want to do too, and mobbing. All three of those want to isolate you. So they're very similar. And I think the mobile gulag will eventually be the gang stalking and the socialist ideals put together with money manipulation. And you'll have a perfect attack situation. And with the popularity of Facebook and Twitter and all that, they'll also have information on you that you don't know they'll have. So when they attack you, they'll know your weak points because they'll be able to see your data points and use those data points against you.
So there's a couple of things. This is just a quick thumbnail of this. But I have been overwhelmed at how far down the road we are. Has anyone noticed how fast all of this is happening? How did we go from a country that we couldn't even admit that we were socialist, you couldn't say that. That was racist to say, hey, I think Van Jones, a former communist, might be a radical. That was racist just a few years ago, to now people coming out and saying capitalism is over. Do you remember what I said about the first chalkboard and how that's going? I need you to see first how this is being implemented and then what's coming. But let me just take a quick break, go over to Stu, and we really want to take your questions on today's show. We have an amazing panel for you, and I so appreciate you watching. If this is useful at all, please, silencing of voices is coming, and we need to stand together. And honestly, I don't care if you subscribe to the Daily Wire with Ben Shapiro. He's a friend. He's got a great thing going on over there, and they're great people. Just support whoever your voice is, whoever you want to support the Blaze of the Daily Wire. I don't care. But please support us and join us at the Blaze TV. Stu.
The networks are not going to give you programming like this. You're not going to get investigations like this from the mainstream media. You know it's not happening. As Glenn mentioned, everyone from the Daily Wire to the Blaze, we need to have your support if you want to go into this sort of stuff. We can certainly run our mouths all day, and that's always fun to do, and you got to do that sometimes. But to really go in depth on something like this, that's not going to be a sexy, clickbaity headline. You really need to have the resources to do it, and this is all you. You guys have made this happen so far, and we want to do more of this stuff. So we really ask you to come on board, and if you can subscribe, I think you should. I mean, I think it's a great value anyway. You got great shows like Steven Crowder and Mark Levin and Eric Bolling and Ali and everybody here, which is great. Chad Prather, Graham Allen, there's a million of them. So that's great right on its surface. But it's also, we're talking about a community, it's a movement. It's really a machine to push back against what the mainstream media is telling people, trying to get the truth out there, trying to push back and actually show people what is actually going on, not only with history, but present and also the future. If you can subscribe, we'd love you to. Go to blazetv.com/Glenn, blazetv.com/Glenn. Use the promo code GB20OFF, GB20OFF. That'll get you $20 off the subscription. We'd love for you to join. If you can't join, if it's not the right thing for you right now, that's totally cool. We understand. If you could subscribe to the YouTube page, of course, that's free. We're going to be posting stuff there. Share this video, like it. Help spread the word, because if people can find out about this and find out about the truth, it's really going to be something that really the only way that we can change this and stop it from happening. We're also going to be doing a question and answer thing coming up with Glenn in just a few minutes. You're going to want to